let's talk about college football, Casino. And if we were talking about marquee games, the marqueest of college football games this weekend was supposed to be Michigan, Texas.
I
And
was wrong.
that game was over almost immediately. Like that was one of the biggest letdowns in terms of big college games I was really excited for. Was there when it kicked off, and the talent disparity between Texas and Michigan is unreal. They're now
Texas is
number 2 ranked in the country.
the Texas looks like they're going to win the whole thing
I mean, Texas and Georgia, like, how is that at this moment not the national championship? Like, I don't see how that doesn't happen. But
because one. Uh, we're good. We're good. I was gonna get back. I was gonna poke the bear with that whole first topic. Continue. Let's go.
Quentin Ewers in this game, 24 for 36, 246 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. On the other end, they lost JJ McCarthy, now have Warren starting, 22 for 33, 204 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. So the difference in this game was the quarterback play on Texas was unreal. Like Ewers was phenomenal. He was making some really great throws. And I really do always think you can see a guy who will have success in the pros where he plays his best games in college against the best teams.
Yeah.
Right? Like Michigan has guys, especially on their defense, that are going to be playing in the NFL. And he was just lighting them up all day. I mean, this is thoughts on just Texas, Michigan as a whole, Casino.
I was excited to watch this game and just instantly let down. It just
Yeah.
wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. I mean, it really makes you wonder how much of it was Harbaugh, you know, coaching this team to victory. I know they lost a lot of players, and it was smart for Coach Harbaugh to go to the NFL because he knew after he won that national championship, all these players were just going to go bye bye and go do something else. You know, they can get paid now. You know, so players are just going to bounce around, go from here. That portal's open. So I think it was a smart move for him to head out. You know, I've heard some people saying that this is now karma for the whole, you know, cheating scandal thing that was proven, not proven. Some of it was, some of it wasn't. I don't know about all that. We talked about that last season.
Yeah.
Regardless, but they're not gonna be as good as they think they are.
No. And then so the biggest marquee game of Texas Michigan was a letdown. I think we can both agree that we knew Michigan would not be as good as they were last year. Like you said, they lost a lot of pieces. They lost their head coach. They're kind of being I don't want to say blackballed, but let's just say punished by the NCAA for whatever. Again, I know we talked about that story. I don't remember what it is that they actually did. But let's talk about some of the other games. I watched almost all of the second half of Oklahoma State and Arkansas. That game
that was good.
Just insane. I know I sent you and
I started watching it on because I forgot a lot of this is now on ESPN Plus because of everything going on. So yeah, that was fun.
So what happened is that the Oklahoma State quarterback got them down to the 6-yard line in a tie game. He then taunted, he did a beautiful pass, then taunted the Kansas, what am I talking about? No, the Arkansas sideline by running up and down the sideline. And again, if you do a little just finger gun kind of thing, then it's just like,
I love a good finger gun.
He ran down almost the entire Arkansas sideline, finger gunning their entire sideline. So again, I'm never against, I think taunting is the dumbest penalty in all of sports, but there's also a point where it's like, remember that Key and Peele sketch where he's like, you only get 2 thrust pumps in the end zone, and then he's like,
the referee. That's one of the greatest Key and Peele skits. That one and one of their first ones, which was the the bitch. I say bitch.
Yeah.
That, but dude, the thrust pump, dude, that was
So he's like, "You're
so good.
okay unless you do 3 or more pumps, and then you have to flag you." That's kinda what it felt like with the finger gun thing, where it was like, you can run for 5 yards, but the second you're running almost 90 yards to cover the complete, and I might be exaggerating, but he was doing finger guns for so long that I was like, "Alright, he deserves this penalty." So he gets a 15-yard taunting penalty. They get backed up to the 21-yard line. Then they proceeded to gain like 5 yards. Okay. Weird clock stuff happens. And then Oklahoma State got a false start on not a false start. There's no, even the announcers were like, that's not a false start. Like,
Right.
it's bad when the announcers immediately are like, we're not even waiting for the replay, just being like, not a false start whatsoever. So then it was the tight end motioning from one side to the other, and then Arkansas jumped off sides, but they called it a false start. It was dumb. So then uh Oklahoma State drilled a 38 yard kick. Arkansas gets the ball back with a minute left, no timeouts. They do a what is it? They got a kick. It goes into OT, and then Oklahoma State ends up winning. But I was saying to you that the news of the weekend, the what everybody would be talking about would be if Oklahoma State lost that game in OT, because the false start was
I was cheering for
egregious.
it.
Yeah, I mean, I like Oklahoma State. I've always liked Oklahoma State, but they were like Mike Gundy just annoys me. I've never really liked Mike
Well,
Gundy.
I really wanted Arkansas to win. Arkansas, just because UNLV's coach came from there and brought a lot of players, and I now I got like a soft spot for them, and I wanted that to happen. I wanted them to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
But
let's move on to the next game.
other than that, Kansas State Tulane was great. Penn State Bowling Green was
Notre
great.
Dame is officially over, losing to Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
Like Notre Dame, like I know I kind of tried to hype them up last week a little bit, like, hey, they lost that one, but they're going to be fine. They're favored in every single game going on out. No, they're fucked. They're fucked.
Yeah. I mean, with the extended playoffs this year, they still might get in because again, they're independent.
Yeah,
And I think
I know, but I mean, yes, they're 1-1 now. However, they did not look good in that first game.
no.
We talked about that. So really, really bad. So yeah, the Kansas State Tulane game, that was down to the wire. The I think my favorite game to watch was Iowa State.
Oh, that one was good.
That
Yeah.
was really good. That field goal that kid kicked was just great. It was like his high. It was like somewhere in the 50s,
Yeah.
like upper 50 echelon. I think it was like 56, maybe something like that.
I'll
If
I'll I'll tell you what,
let's see what it is.
the three teams that I think I've been most impressed with have been Texas, Georgia, and then who is it? Oh, USC. Those are the three teams that I think are maybe the three best teams in the nation. You can throw in Alabama, you can throw in Ohio State, but they really haven't played anybody. However, I think we need to start because you did call Notre Dame being a fraud. I think
So it was a 54-yard long field goal is what ended up
jeez.
winning him the game.
Jeez. But you called Notre Dame last week being a fraud. I think everybody is united that Oregon is like maybe the most overrated team in the country that's losing or that's barely
Barely
winning
beaten against Boise
games.
State. But you know what? Boise State is expected to win the Mountain West. I know everybody's like, oh, the Mountain West, but I mean, I'm going to defend Boise State and UNLV. I'll explain why UNLV coming up. But Boise State is good. They are. Somebody on the radio was trying to say that Boise State, oh, they're not good. They've been notoriously not a good program for a long time. And I'm like, they've been bad for maybe 3 years. Like before
Yeah.
that, they were always in the top 25. I mean, they were competing for national championships, in my youth. I remember seeing that. I'm like, chill out. Like Boise State's an established program when it comes to football. They're having an off few years. Like it happens.
Yeah, but you can't say that about Idaho, which is
No,
a team they barely beat by 10.
Okay,
Like,
right, and Oregon barely beating that, but Oregon still pulled it off.
yeah.
And then I'll tie in just cover the Mountain West. I won't go on my whole UNLV rant. However, another good game that I was watching because Houston, Oklahoma, and Houston was on the road in Oklahoma, who's currently ranked 15th. It ended 12-16. I thought Houston was going to get blown out. I was like, okay, I've been telling everybody, UNLV beating them on the road, almost holding them to 0 points. That was going to be a good victory for UNLV, but Houston probably wasn't going to be the best team this year. I mean, they held their own against Oklahoma in Oklahoma. That was pretty good. So it makes me feel good about UNLV going forward. I can't wait for Friday's game against Kansas, especially with Kansas losing, by the way. So I can't wait to see that happen. So because Kansas is 1-1 now. So I'm excited. I'm really excited to see how this plays out for that game. The other game I wanted to touch on, and then I will be done with college football, was I was kind of happy to see Colorado get blown out.
And you read my mind. That was the last game I wanted to talk about as well. Colorado, yeah, I watched that game. Again, I don't know. Well, I know why they do it, but they keep giving Colorado these marquee, like standalone games in prime time. And week 1, they pulled it out. That game felt a lot.
You're right. Nebraska pulled it out and stuck it up Colorado's ass.
Yeah. So they beat North Dakota State last week on Thursday. Again, that game was way too close for them to be, such an established program, at least in their minds, I guess, with Colorado. But so Nebraska, blew them out 28-10. Nebraska also
and
on
10
the
is 10 is generous, dude, because it did not.
Oh,
I'm looking at that score and I'm like, yeah, no, this was in my head watching this game. It was like 50-0.
Yeah. That's what it felt like. It never felt like Colorado was even in the same league. Again, as a Nebraska team that's 23rd in the league now, at 2-0. And I believe they said on the broadcast they have the longest drought from, I think it was either playing a bowl game or being in a championship or something. I can't remember what they said. I think it might have said bowl game for like 11 years or something like that. But to be honest, I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But
I will never quote you on anything.
Thank you so much. Shedeur Sanders in this game, 23 for 38, 244, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But the big story coming out of this game, especially with him,
is still not the worst quarterback play I've seen all week. We'll get to that.
Oh no,
we'll get to that.
But Shedeur Sanders walks off the field with 3 minutes, or I believe around 3 minutes and some change left in this game, and then in the press conference is talking about how Colorado, he had no time to throw, and look at the time Nebraska's quarterback had to throw.
You don't do that, dude.
Completely throwing his offensive line under the bus. This is also not the first time he's ever done this.
No, I know. He gets it from his dad.
So this is, again, the tides were turning or starting to turn last year on Colorado. Now they have completely turned because of how just completely unlikable both Deion Sanders and his son are when it comes to talking and what happens on the field with Colorado. Like, can you think of a team that went from so beloved to so hated for kind of off the field shit so fast? I can't. Like, the complete turnaround, because last year when it was like Colorado, remember they were 2-0 and they had all the celebrities at all their games and everybody was like, this is fun. It's bringing a lot of eyes to, West Coast football, and Colorado, like a smaller program. They're getting as much publicity as like an Alabama or an Ohio State. And then it was like in less than a year, now all of a sudden it's like Deion Sanders is like kicking out everybody and being like, I'm bringing in some people who want to win. And then they don't win. They're kind of getting their ass kicked by teams that they shouldn't be getting their ass kicked by. And then now it becomes, again, a year ago, it was like, is Shedeur Sanders, is Travis Hunter, are they top 5 NFL picks? Is Deion Sanders going to get the head coaching NFL job for the Cowboys? And now it's like,
oh, that would be wild.
Well, now that was all.
He wouldn't be doing much worse of a job.
But now it's just become this thing of like, will anybody want to draft the Sanders kid because he appears to just not
Be a
know
dick.
how to talk to the media or be a leader or literally like anything. And again, you can always combat that argument by being like, they're just kids. They're just kids. And it's like, yeah, everybody in college football is kids, and yet he's the only one doing this. I've never seen a quarterback throw their offensive line under the bus. It's like an unwritten rule. Even I believe there was, I heard I can't remember who was telling the story. It might have even been Peyton himself, but he was trying to, I think, when he was already as an established player, Peyton Manning was like going after one of the offensive linemen, and all the offensive linemen stood up and just surrounded him. And Peyton Manning was like, "Yeah, I'm wrong. Like, my bad. I'm sorry." And it's just like the most decorated quarterbacks in not only like football now, football history never throw their offensive linemen under the bus because, again, the offensive linemen are the ones that keep you upright. They protect you. They're also probably double your size. So it's weird for Shedeur Sanders. The second they start losing or start going bad, that's his immediate first target. And also, there's also just, you can look at film and it's like, hey, he's also holding on to the ball too long. So why are you trying to give your offensive lineman shit? Get rid of the ball quicker. Like,
no, it's not his fault. It's never a Sanders fault.
Yeah, right. It'll be interesting. It'll be really interesting to see where he goes in the draft, especially if the season continues like this for Colorado, which why wouldn't it? It doesn't appear that this Colorado team's going to have a huge bounce back season. But I mean, their schedule is favorable. But again, they went down to the wire with ND State. So who knows? They play Oregon State. They play Oregon. They play USC. They play Washington. Or no, I'm sorry. That was for last year. They play ranked Utah. They play ranked Arizona. They play ranked Kansas State. They play Colorado State. So this could get ugly.